right, Gabe. So a conversation that me and you have been on quite a bit lately um, is the current situation between Ukraine and Russia. Um, I'm gonna just go over quick little things that I've jotted down along the way about the situation. Things kind of got hot, let's say around February 24th. Um, Actually, maybe the 21st. The 21st, media isn't necessarily documenting this as the beginning of the invasion, but I have. February 21st, Russia had recognized breakaway regions um, as sovereign states. And a lot of people weren't necessarily noting that at the beginning of the invasion. I did because I questioned, how does one declare areas of another country independent, and moved in on those places? You know, he sent his troop. I think they were called what the Green Friendly Men or something like that. Um, I forget the name. They moved in after they were declared independent, and I mean, for me, that's when I would say the beginning of the invasion started. But media said that the invasion began on the 24th, and that's when Putin declared it as a full-scale invasion as well. And it began in the eastern Ukrainian territories of Donbass. At that time, Ukraine's president Vladimir Zelensky, he declared martial law in Ukraine, and he had officially broke diplomatic ties with Russia. Putin had called on the Ukrainian military to lay down their arms, and he warned other countries that any attempt to interfere with the Russian action would lead to consequences that they had never seen before. Um, Following that, his actions were condemned across the world, as well as with some within Russia. Russian forces at that time had captured the Chernobyl nuclear power plant, which we spoke about. And that same day, Biden had denounced the unprovoked and unjustified attack, and he pledged that the world would hold Putin accountable for these actions. He then had a second address that day on the war, where he announced that they would totally freeze the assets of Russian banks that were here in the United States. And then the next day, um, the president of Ukraine, Vladimir Zelensky, he had offered the full mobilization. He ordered the full mobilization of the Ukrainian army military for 90 days. And he announced that all Ukrainian males aged 18 to 60 were banned from leaving the country. Um, the Ukrainian military had detonated a bridge near Kyiv to stop the advancing of Russian tanks. Um, Russian troops and armor had reached that northern district, whereupon Ukrainian government had urged the citizens to start making Molotov cocktails. And they actually had this on. They had this on the news. They were actually teaching their citizens how to do it so that they could join in with trying to push back on the Russians there. Um, Back in Russia, people were protesting actually against this attack, which actually resulted in them being arrested. If I'm correct, that day, NATO had a response force that was activated for the first time as a defense measure against the invasion, which I don't, if I'm correct, might not have turned out the best. Um, let's see. Select Russian banks have been cut off from SWIFT eventually. Through this, Trump had been blaming Biden and NATO for these actions. Uh, and he's also been saying that Putin's moves were smart. Let's see here. You got sites like YouTube, Google, Facebook. They're stopping the earnings of those in Russian countries as well. Um, Man, it's a lot going on. It's a lot going on.